Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I thought I'd just go over basically the past 2 months of winter training. So I pulled up Training Peaks here so that we can just run through it. It's really about 7 weeks or so because I'm on to my second recovery week, and it's 3 weeks on and then a recovery week with an FTP test essentially. So yeah, let's get right into that. All right, so as you can see, the 2 weeks prior to the week of January 6th or January 7th um, was basically off. So this was kind of recovery period, went on vacation, took it pretty much off just to kind of recover, although most of November and December um, were kind of off here and there. A little bit of consistent training for 2 weeks, but 2 weeks off heading into basically my winter base, my 12-week winter base block. So, yeah, let's get right into it. So I started at around 225 pounds. So pretty typical. I think that's also what I was weighing back in October. So really, I didn't gain any weight by being off the bike necessarily, but I have lost weight now. But the training plan was a lot of base miles. Like as you can see, we're doing endurance riding for at least this first week. There was supposed to be 3 hours on the Sunday. Ended up running a 5K, and the TSS matched the 3 hours perfectly. So I just didn't ride. I ran instead. But yeah, there's pretty much 5 hours of riding this week, with 2 hours in the gym, and I think the lifting has played a huge role in either weight loss or just like improvement in general. I haven't really lifted in the past when doing training plans, which this is the first year that I'm just cycling. In years past, it's been more of a triathlon training plan, so that could also aid in that I'm basically riding only, and so the improvements are to riding. So yeah, the first week was very much so base with a little bit of lifting. The second week, there were some steady state intervals, more endurance riding. I would say, honestly, 90% of the weeks have been endurance riding, with 2-ish hours in the gym. But yeah, the fitness, we started basically at 33, went to 38 immediately in the first week. Good to see, already up to 44 by the end of week 2. So this is mid-January. Actually weighed in a little bit heavier than I did the week prior. Wouldn't really read into that much though, because it's a very small amount. And then this is week 3. So week 3, another 2 hours of lifting. Did a Zwift race this week. A lot more endurance ridings. I did miss a 2-hour endurance ride in the afternoon on Sunday. Yeah, just honestly ran out of time in the day because we had plans and it just ran out of time. Should have done it in the morning, procrastinated doing it, ended up not doing it at all. So then that brings us to the first recovery week, which was the end of January. Then the weekend was the first weekend in February. Mid FTP test on the Saturday, Zwift crashed. So I loaded it back up and went instantly and just did a ramp test just because it was quicker. I just needed to get it done. Yeah, so after these 4 weeks, like the issue with the first couple weeks is that my heart rate was really high compared to October. So the end of October is kind of when I stopped consistently training. And so my heart rate was really high. Like I would be doing zone 2 power essentially, but my heart rate would be upper tempo essentially. So like upper zone 3 for zone 2 power. So it was bad. By the 4th week, I'd gotten the heart rate to come back down. So we were sitting good. Went through this week. FTP 289, exactly what it was in October. So it took me 4 weeks to get back to where I was. And I should mention the first 2 weeks, I was training at an FTP set of like 275, 270, 275, just to decay it a little bit. But my heart rate was still really high. So yeah, it took about 4 weeks to get the heart rate back down, and to get around the same FTP. Um, yeah. So then going into essentially the next block. Again, back to lifting, 2 hours a week. Now we're mixing in more intervals. So there's tempo on top of all the endurance riding. There's 4 hours worth of riding on Sunday this week. It was a good week. Fitness is already back up to 54. Fatigue is kind of high, even coming off the recovery week. The fatigue was at 59, so like fatigue is kind of high, but it is what it is at this point. So this was a 12-hour, this was almost a 12 and a half hour week. Yeah, I mean, it felt good. The tempo intervals felt really good, even though I couldn't quite keep it exactly at the prescribed power. I still kept it within the zone, which was good. So, yeah. And then the next week, this week was more steady state intervals, so that sweet spot threshold area, more like right underneath FTP or right at, but a lot more zone 2 riding. Another 4.5 hour ride on Sunday. I did not lift this week, and I also did not lift the week after this. That was because I was feeling very sore, and the fatigue being so high, I just didn't. I also started plateauing with the weights in the gym, so I took 2 weeks off, and then we're going to start lifting again in the next block to kind of reconfigure things a little bit. But yeah, another big week. This week was 11 hours of just riding, which then brings us on to last week, which was 11 hours and 48 minutes of just riding with 5 hours on the Sunday, which I nailed those 5 hours. We did 3x25 tempo again. So yeah, mixing in those intervals. It's been nice, honestly, to have the intervals mixed in there. The fitness is back up into the 60s. The fatigue is really high, but this week is a recovery week, so it's coming down. Yeah. Oh, and I can also run through the weight. So I started at 225, right? The first week I weighed in at 226. Honestly, it could be water weight, could be anything. If you really want to get precise with it, I've heard that you should weigh yourself all 7 days and look at the average of the 7 days as your weight for that week. But I honestly, once a week is fine. I just want a general outline. And then the week after that was 222. And then 221, so just steadily coming down, then 220, then 220 again, then 218. And then this week, in the middle of the week, I am now 216. I think I also weighed 216 last Thursday. So, yeah, so 216. So I'm down 10 pounds. As of 4 weeks ago, the FTP was the same. So in theory, my watts per kilogram have gone up, just from pushing the same power and being 10 pounds lighter. Obviously, the goal is to raise the FTP as well as drop weight. So we'll see what happens this Saturday, March 1st. I have an FTP test. I'm excited for it in a way. I'm pretty confident that I can at least raise it a little bit. So like maybe 295. But I am going to do a 20-minute test. Also for FTP tests, at least a 20-minute test and like intervals, I found it easier for myself to do it with just my Garmin and not on Zwift, so that I can't see how much time is left in the interval. Definitely a mental thing, for sure, but on the Garmin I can just swipe over screen so that I just see power and heart rate and nothing else, so that I can just focus on the power and my heart rate. I don't need to really stress about how much time is left in the interval. So I think that will be beneficial this week, instead of having Zwift crash 13 minutes into a 20-minute test and then having to do a ramp test. So the FTP might have been higher 4 weeks ago because I was kind of pre-fatigued from Zwift crashing. But yeah, that's been the last 2 months of training. This February video is a little bit late. I meant to make it like 2 weeks ago and to do a week of training, like vlog style, but to me, I just couldn't wrap my head around making that entertaining. I doubt this video is going to be entertaining, but this is more just to show the work that I'm putting in. But yeah. In March, hopefully going to get outside. First crit of the season is March 30th, I believe. Is this Sunday. So the next recovery week, the day after an FTP test, will be the first race of the season. Should be a 30-minute crit. But then after after this week, we have one more 4-week block. And after that, we then go into an 8-week build. So that will be the 12 weeks of base done, going into an 8-week build. And the 8-week build finishes the week before Unbound does. So I've thrown in just a couple weeks, basically until Lutsen, just structured a few weeks going forward, kind of taking from the Dylan Johnson training plan, structuring the weeks around, getting some tempo intervals, getting some sweet spot intervals, some VO2 max intervals, keeping up with the lifting. But yeah, so yeah, that'll do it for this video. I will see you in the next one.